fund is really a priority, needs to be a priority in our savings as well. We need to have cash ready to go. People often say 3 to 6 months, which might sound like a lot, and you don't have to get there right away. But building an emergency fund, or as Jen likes to call it, what do you call it, Jen?
Like a contingency fund or your backup fund, like something that doesn't seem like we're saving for something bad to happen.
Yes. So saving that fund for a time when you might need it, that's unexpected, right? And putting a little bit away in there at the same time as paying down some debt can really give you security of mind, but also security if you need some funds, all of a sudden they're in cash, right? And so right now, like a high yield savings account has a really high interest rate. So saving your money in a high yield savings account, your emergency fund, it can help you have that money easily accessible. It's liquid, but also be earning some money on it. Right now, the rates are at like 5% in the US on those savings accounts. And so contributing a little bit, as much as you can to that, is a really important thing to consider and start looking into if you haven't already started building an emergency fund.
Yeah, I like to think of the emergency or contingency fund as the thing that helps you sleep well at night, because we will all face some type of emergency, and having the money available to you when that emergency occurs is just so much. Things are just much more calmer than having to look to credit cards or other sources of lending to get through an already stressful time. The other way to really smooth out that emotional roller coaster with money is to start thinking about some sinking funds, so some separate accounts for short-term needs that you have for yourself or for your family. So where I see people using these special accounts are for things like their kids' sports or camps, for vacations like summer vacation. So it's just setting up a separate bank account where you direct a bit of money every month. And so that when it's time to pay for the kids' camp dues, you have the money, it's already set aside. So that can be a great way to get started with savings, is to start focusing on some of the shorter term goals.
Okay, so two things. First of all, I have never used the term sinking funds, and that is the third time I've heard it this week. So is sinking funds just a fancy term for separate small savings accounts, or is it like, what does it mean, something specific? Because I've never used it, but I keep hearing it.
I think some people use the term buckets, or they're just really separate accounts. So ideally, it's a savings account that you're not going to dip into. So maybe something that you don't have on your bank card. Maybe it's at a different financial institution, but it's just a separate account that is designated for a specific purpose. So it has a specific job. Another great use for these types of accounts is things like car repairs. That's like a big whammy that comes up for people. We had a ginormous car repair bill last month, and where these special accounts help is you've got at least some of the money set aside for when it happens, because it will. So it's just dedicated savings. It's usually just high interest savings or just a straight bank account. So you're not investing it for the very long term. The purpose of the money is to use it in within the next year.
And I like it because it is really manageable for people who are still paying off debt, but who can say, but I'm also like, it's kind of like budgeting for your immediate, like your near-term future. Like, okay, but my kids are going to have to go to camp this summer, or I'm going to have a more expensive like daycare bill this summer, right? Because I need care for my kids. That's coming up. We're going to have fall sports fees. We're going to have car repairs. And I like it because people are saving, right? You are saving and you're developing that habit of putting money, like you use that term habit, Mary Lee. And I thought that was such a great way to think about it even if you're saving $5 a month, you're building that habit. So I love that you could start to think about putting this money aside in these little funds while you're also focusing on debt. That'll make the expense when it pops up so much less alarming, and you won't feel as panicked because you're like, look at me, I planned for the $500 baseball fee or whatever it is, but it's also that building that habit. So it's helping you balance I want to pay off my debt, big expenses are coming down the path, I need to save. Like, there's so many things you can think about at once, and this is a great way to kind of ease yourself into that.
Yeah, and what you're shifting is being reactive. So having everything happen to like, oh, shoot, I forgot that, my dog has a pet visit coming up and that's going to be $500. Because by the way, pet care expenses are very large. It's shifting away from like reactive where things just pop up on you to being more proactive. And the easiest way to start is with those near-term needs and goals that you have, and having the money set aside to be prepared for them. So this is where you gain control of over your finances versus all of these things happening to you.
I love that. And it's so true. And then you start to feel so much more in control, right? Like you said. And then you're not as tempted or needing to go into more debt, right? When you're paying off debt, you want to think about also, how do I not add more debt in the future? So these strategies of saving at the same time will really help your mindset and your actual plan of not having to go more in debt when these events occur or when you're ready to make those payments on sports, etc.